Hiya and welcome to the last word on a Sunday here at All for United. Got a cracking guest lineup as usual. I've got Lexi, John, Wes, and Mr. Ton. I just want to start off by saying it's been a somber time for the country. Tomorrow's going to be a very very tough day for a lot of people in this country. And quite rightly, All for United has paid its due respects to Her Majesty the Queen. And so I hope whatever you're doing tomorrow, most people can tune in and watch the final resting of our great leader, which he's served this great country for over 70 years. So our thoughts are with the royal family here on All for United. Guys, what a strange week. For us, there's been no football. For us, is it the right or wrong thing? I think everybody's got their own opinions of it. I felt it was the right thing to certainly cancel last weekend. It's very, very difficult for the police to be policing a game like Manchester United and Leeds. So, Lexi, let's just have your thoughts really on the past week and how you've been feeling really.
Yeah, it's been weird. I think this whole season's a bit weird because we have August till, when was it, last week, which was 9th of September or whatever it was. So August till then of football, which is about a month. And then from then until October, no football. And we've got 5-6 weeks, loads of football. So it's just it's like 0 or 100, isn't it, really? I mean, because I couldn't go to Sociedad or, what was the first game, Brighton. I've only been to Old Trafford twice this season, and it's like mid-September. By the time mid-October hits, I'll have only been twice. That's insane. Like normally, by that point, you'd have had probably 5, 6, 7 league games at home, or cup games included as well. But yeah, it's all very weird. It's all very disjointed, and it's just annoying. Like, because I feel like we've got a bit of momentum going. We won 4 league games in a row. And I know we lost that Sociedad game, but it is what it is with that. But yeah, we got four wins in a row, and I was kind of thinking, God, it's all coming together here, and it's perfect. We had Leeds next, and we always put 6 or 7 past Leeds, so that's fine. And now the momentum's gone again, and it's like we've got to sit through an international break again, even though there's a World Cup in 2 months. They're having an international break, and I just get a bit tired of it. Like the way the football calendar is and the way it's all coordinated now, I just find baffling. There should never have been a Winter World Cup in the first place for obvious reasons. And as a result, we've got, because there's a Winter World Cup, and then obviously the other stuff that's gone on with the Queen is now obviously it's more delays. And yeah, it's just a weird season, and it's just so annoying because we'd had that momentum, and it's just going to be gone a bit. And if we've got City now, and that's a tough game, and the momentum could go a bit. And it's just a weird time all round, isn't it?
It is. It's a strange time, for the country, and it's a strange time for the world in general, really, isn't it? Everything seems to be turning on its head, but we can only look forwards, to football coming back from Manchester United. I know that the royal family will want everything to come back to normal as soon as possible, and it will. It's just been a very, very difficult time. John, have you been feeling about things?
Yeah, it's been like you say, a strange 10 days or so since the Queen's passing. Obviously, it goes back to Sociedad game when it was around an hour or two before kick-off. It just, from my perspective, it just felt wrong watching that game and that. And I think the country has been in mourning, obviously, and you're bound to after 70 years of reign and that. And I just think that, obviously, like, to echo your thoughts, hopefully, and I'm sure Her Majesty will get a good send-off tomorrow, and then after tomorrow, hopefully we do return to normal life. But as for United, it has been strange, missing 2 weekends of football. United is going to be a third one next weekend because the internationals. I think it might. I mean, I went to Leeds Sports Village for the women's opening game yesterday lunchtime. We won 4-0. It's been a good start to WSL season, and I think it was a record attendance LSV, and I think maybe that. Obviously had something to do with the women's Euros, but possibly also because the men weren't playing this weekend. So people are like, well, we might as well go to LSV and see the women play. And thankfully, we put on a show for them in the first half. But yeah, it's a weird time. So we're going to be playing 3 weekends without playing a game, and then in about 7 weeks, we'll be breaking up for the World Cup. And then I think between this day in 2 weeks and the derby and 6 weeks after, we're playing something like 12, 13 games, aren't we? No, it's just going to be relentless up until the World Cup. And it'll be interesting to see how Ten Hag copes with that, how the team deals with that, and obviously we won't be the only teams affected by it. But yeah, it's been a strange time, and it'll be stranger still with the fixtures, and then eventually the World Cup in about 7 or 8 weeks' time.
Ridiculous, isn't it? Ridiculous. Wes, how have you been this past week?
Yeah, I think pretty much the same as everyone else, really. Obviously, the country's lost someone who's been pretty much around all of our lives, really. Such a big influence on the country, so it was a bit strange hearing that obviously she'd passed away. You could see at the Sociedad game that it was a bit morbid. The atmosphere was very flat, and there were a lot of people affected by the news as well. Game probably shouldn't have been played. Understand why it was, because of obviously Sociedad travelling over and their fans, who were absolutely outstanding as well, paid their respects too. But yeah, I mean, it's weird, really, Stu, because like obviously, as you know, I follow United up and down the country, so having a few weeks off is kind of it's strange. Yeah. It doesn't feel normal, So, but yeah, I just think an international break has come at the wrong time. It's very disruptive. As Alexis said, we sort of hit a little bit of form with 4 wins on the bang, a little bit of momentum behind us, but unfortunately, some of these things, they can't be helped. I just think that, for me, I hope the players go away to international duty and come back without any injuries. The likes of Rafael Varane, who we know does pick up a lot of injuries, it's vitally important that we try and keep these players as fit as possible, particularly him, given his poor injury record, particularly last season as well. So I just hope we can come back to the City game with no injuries, fresh and rearing to go, really. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that, but it's going to be a long few weeks.
No, most definitely. Just finishing up with you, Mr. Ton, how have you felt this week?
I enjoyed watching the game, but it's in all weekend I've watched the other teams, and it's like, I've got to wait how long now for United to play? Really? It's one of those ones, isn't it? Even now, I'm watching the Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid game. Do you know what I mean? I was watching the Napoli game, watching the PSG game as well. And it's just like, we really got to wait this long. And we did have momentum. I'll be honest with you, we did have, I could feel that. And you can see the players felt that as well. And I hope this doesn't ruin anything. That's one thing. I'm optimistic, though. I'll be honest with you, I'm very optimistic about the City game. I know a lot of fans watching this and some guys on the panels might not be, but I'll be honest, I'm quite optimistic.
Yeah, me too, actually. As it happens, I am. I was on a panel earlier on in the week, and I said, I think we can get a result at City, and people glazed their eyes over at me. But look, football is definitely a funny old game. I mean, I've been played in plenty of games where we've been the underdogs, and we've won quite comfortably. Been in round robin tournaments where we've lost in the first round, played the same team in the final, and we've absolutely battered them. You work your way into a game of football, and that's what happens. We've all been watching Man United throughout the years. I mean, Wes are a bit older than some of you. Wes have seen some right dross in our time. But there's been games back in the late 70s and early 80s that surprised us, and there's nothing to say we can't get surprised next in 2 weeks' time. So let's bring it to present day then. Let's thank you very much, by the way, for everything you all said about the Queen. I think it was important that we remembered her. Let's have a look at where we are then. We played 8 games, and as Alexi said, 8 games wearing about. It feels like 6 months. It's nuts. It is absolutely crazy. Scorecard for Mr. Ten Hag. What's your thoughts, Alexi? Do you think Ten Hag's embraced the English way of playing, and how do you think him and Manchester United have started to fit together?
I think, if you're judging it, especially after we lost 4-0 to Brentford, he could not have done better. It's 10 out of 10 on all fronts. And he's made really, really big decisions. Before Ten Hag came in, a big criticism of the last few managers was favouritism. Remember, Mourinho always used to play Lukaku every week. Oli always used to play Maguire every week. And Ronaldo and Ranić had these problems. Ten Hag came in week 2 or 3, just when Maguire's on the bench, Ronaldo, he's on the bench. That is the greatest footballer of all time and the club captain to the bench. And we win 4 in a row. And he's vindicated by it. And, he's dealt with that really well. And it's not just about the results. It's about the fact there's a clear style of play forming. We've scored a lot of goals the last few games from cutbacks, which is obviously a big part of what he does at Ajax. And there's a clear, we've got a way we're going. I'm not, we could lose the next 2-3 games, but if we're playing in the way we kind of get that he wants us to play, I won't be that annoyed, because that's what it's about now. We've got a vision. Because last year there was no vision at all. I mean, the Ranić era was just balling, but we've now got a vision. He's dealt with egos very well, and he's even stuff like McTominay, who'd been in the team playing really well. Casemiro came in. He showed it's a meritocracy, because he could easily. A lot of managers would just go, right, McTominay, you're out. We've got this bloke who's won 5 Champions Leagues. He's coming straight in. Done. But he's not done that. And that sends a really big message. Not sending Casemiro straight in the team, putting Maguire on the bench and putting Ronaldo on the bench, basically sends the message that 1, no one's bigger than the club, but 2, it's a meritocracy. And it's not always been a meritocracy at United in recent years, because certain players have just played however they've done. That back 5 would play every week, whatever happens. And, we're seeing a change in that now, and it's really important. So I think I'd give him a 10, and he's beaten Arsenal and Liverpool in 3 weeks. We didn't. I was thinking about this the other day. We have as many good memories in the league this season already as in the entire of last season. So we did nothing last season at all. And there's clear philosophy, and you've got to think, if it's this good after 5-6 weeks, imagine what it's going to be like in a year, 2 years. But he's smashed it on all fronts, and he's everything I hoped he would be. And there's no one I'd rather have right now than him. He's brilliant.
No, I totally agree with you. I'm going to ask John about Scott McTominay in a few minutes, because he has been. I'm not going to use the word revelation, but when you look at his performances from the last 18 months, you've seen a huge change in not only his demeanour, but the way he's actually trying to command a game of football. He's not quite there yet. He's not quite taken that step up that we need. But you're quite right, Alexi. Ten Hag's brought in Casemiro, but he's been very, very slow in making the change that we all thought as a fan base would happen. And I'll talk to Mr. Ton about that, because Mr. Ton's got a few theories on that in a minute. So let's just pop over to John. Give us your thoughts about Casemiro. Wes, I'm going to ask you a slightly different question when I come to you. So I'll ask it you now, because I want you to think about what you think we need moving forward. You watch Man United up and down. You're like me. I've been a season ticket holder for 29 years this year, and I've been here, there, and everywhere with them. So that's the kind of question I want to ask you. And I'm going to move over to Mr. Ton. I want to talk about Casemiro McTominay relationship. So, John, you're very vocal about McTominay. I know you like him, but you're quite constructive in your criticism with him occasionally. I think you've always been quite fair about him. So,
Yeah.
what would you add to Alex's point now?
Well, I do think it's noticeable that he has improved a bit on the Ten Hag. I think, you touched on Casemiro. Obviously, Casemiro has been one of the best defensive midfielders over the past decade, possibly. But yeah, he's keeping him out of the team. Casemiro has not a bad start, but he hasn't. I mean, the Sociedad game, he looked a bit off the pace. I think Ten Hag's trying to ease him in, and I can see with McTominay that he's been given the chance to see what he can do, and I think it has been noticeable that he has played pretty well on the Ten Hag over, what's happened the first couple of games. He has. With him and Eriksen, they've got a decent partnership going there at this present moment. And I think that with McTominay, one thing I've noticed with him, he is passing the ball forwards a little bit more than he has been previously. And I think because he used to keep playing it safe from times, I still think he needs to work a little bit in terms of that receiving the ball, because in the past he has hidden away behind players at times. And I think it has been noticeable that he has looked for the ball more. It can still be better, but he has been, it'd be wrong to say that he hasn't improved. And at this present moment, he is keeping Casemiro out the side, and deservedly. I just think with Casemiro, he's 30 years old. He hasn't had pre-season with us, and I think it will take him time to get used to the English game and that. And even in spite of all your experience, you do need time to get used to the English game. There have been times where Casemiro's made mistakes where it's led to chance. Noticeable one was when Maguire got booked against Arsenal. It was Casemiro who gave the ball away. But I do think Casemiro will eventually improve. I think when we speak about the schedule for October, all the big games we got to play, I do think Ten Hag will look to rotate a little bit more because of the schedule and everything, and I can see him easing Casemiro in eventually. Will it be in time for the World Cup? Who knows? But at this moment, I think that somebody deservedly is getting in the starting 11 at the moment.
So do you think it's down to McTominay himself, or do you think it's the Ten Hag effect, or maybe even the Casemiro effect?
I think it's a combination of everything. I think Casemiro coming in has made McTominay think, oh gosh, if I don't perform, I'm out the team. I think Ten Hag has improved certain plays where he has started to where he's making players feel more confident in themselves as well, because obviously last season a lot of those players, that confidence, I think that's been the biggest change Ten Hag has done. He's given certain players confidence play. They might not be good enough long term, but at least they're playing for us at the moment, playing well at the moment. And I think Casemiro not being, I wouldn't say he's completely fit at the moment to play, but I think in time he will be. But McTominay's risen to the challenge.
Okay. Wes, I'll come back to you in a minute. Mr. Ton, do you want to add your thoughts on Casemiro, McTominay?
At the moment, I don't want to raise too much concerns. If we get to a stage and, by World Cup and he's not in the team, then I'm going to be like, was there any point of getting him? I'll be honest with you, was that a waste of money? Those question marks will come up because if we believe some of the reports, it was more of the recruitment team, like I mentioned before, Stu, and the board that mapped out the Casemiro idea to Ten Hag. And it does seem like Ten Hag had a plan before when he got interviewed when he was on tour about he more wanted a deep line playmaker in that role than a Casemiro type midfielder. And I sort of predicted this before, that when we was linked to these players, that he was going to use Eriksen and the guy who was linked to Mr. De Jong more like the 18-19 midfielder, the Lachon role, with Eriksen doing the Lachon role. And even a couple of weeks ago, I saw Tifo even mentioned it. Eriksen is playing the Lashan role right now. That's what he is doing. So it does seem like he wanted more of a ball playing type next to him. And to be honest, McTominay is getting forward a lot. He is getting forward a lot. And do I see Casemiro doing that right now? Not really. But he might have to just tweak the tactics a bit to get a Casemiro in there now. And United fans do have to remember, Casemiro's playing next to Modric and Kroos. Modric, one of the best midfielders of this tonight, and Kroos as well, who with one or two passes can beat all the lines. And people forget this. So Casemiro wasn't a special player at that. So what he was good at was winning the ball. That's what he was good at. And I just don't know how Ten Hag is gonna figure out how to use him. But what I did notice from compared to the other games, he was on the ball a lot on the other games. But the last game when he brought him on at half time, he did kept it simple a bit more.
He did, yeah.
So
yeah,
he's obviously Ten Hag's obviously been in his ear, like, don't try to be a playmaker, just keep it a bit more simple. But we'll see what happens. I'll be honest with you, I'm still questioning. I'm happy Casemiro's here, but
yeah,
it's the whole Ten Hag. How is he going to if we don't use him? For me, I thought he was going to. Me and you, Stu, we thought he was going to start the last game. So
we did, yeah.
That's the question mark for me. What's going to happen?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what he does moving forward. I mean, a player of his quality, potential defensive midfielder in my time as well. So it's a very simplistic game, but you are the orchestra, you are the tempo setter, and we need Casemiro, or we need whatever system Ten Hag wants to play. We need that now, because for me, I would have put Casemiro in against City all day long. But anyway, that's for another day. Where's just moving?
I do hope he starts though.
So do I. Where's just moving on to you? The question I had for you is: now that you've looked at Ten Hag's first 8 matches, where do you think we can improve? And once Wes has spoken about his thoughts, Alexi come in, and John and Mr. Ton, I want you to all come in now and have a bit of a debate about this. So sorry, Wes, I'm going to kick off with you, old friend.
Yeah, no worries. I think personally, I get a lot of stick sometimes for saying it, but if there were going to be areas of improvement, I think one of the key areas for me, with the way that the manager wants to play, is goalkeeper. I think, with all due respect to De Gea, because he has been a great servant to the club, Premier League winner, has my total respect. He's been magnificent for us in recent years. Clearly not where he was in terms of being the best goalkeeper in the world. But I think, given the way the current manager wants to play, we need a goalkeeper who's pretty much your third centre-back, if you like, someone who can play on the ball, good distribution. I've always been, Stu, we're quite old school. I like a goalkeeper with presence who's big and will bully people, and is not afraid to get his head kicked off or to come out and smash your own centre-half to bits, So goalkeeper, most certainly. I would have said right back. I think that is another area where we could strengthen. But I have to say, and if you follow me on Twitter, you know that I haven't been his biggest fan for many years. But Diogo Dalot has been very good this season, I think. We look at the game against Sheriff, the run that he makes for the penalty, in between the centre half and the fullback, sort of blind side to get into the box. I saw some interesting stats earlier on, and it carries on into the Premier League. I think they compared him with João Cancelo at Man City.
Yeah.
And he's beaten him in about 6 or 7 different areas of his game at the moment, including chances created. He seems very confident. He seems like he has a good understanding of what the manager is expecting. However, I do think that we need someone sort of, if we cast our minds back to the Luke Shaw and the Alex Telles signing, it sort of excelled into the sort of next level with Luke Shaw. I don't think we're going to get that from Bissaka, and I think with all, Bissaka's probably got to be moved on. but I think we need to definitely look at strengthening in the right back area as well, in order to give Dalot more competition and not get complacent. And I think we could, there's certainly other areas of the team that we can do, but the two for me at the moment would be definitely, I'd be looking at a goalkeeper and a right back and a striker, but we know that's stating the obvious there, really. But yeah, that would be my two main areas. I think the goalkeeper is hindering us a lot at the moment. So yeah.
Well, I wouldn't disagree with you on De Gea. I think you're right. He's been a superb servant for us, but you can't have a scared goalkeeper, unfortunately. When you've had a centre-back partnership that hasn't been as fluid as it should have been, has lost its kind of confidence, you need a goalkeeper and a centre midfielder to really cement those main areas, and we haven't had that. Alexi touched on the back five being pretty much indestructible at the minute. Look, everyone on this panel knows I was a huge detractor of Varane when he joined, and I made it very, very clear you're not going to see the best of him for a long, long time until you get a Ramos-type player alongside him. We've got that now within Martinez. So I think you're right, Wes. I think the next step has got to be the removal of De Gea. I've been vocal about that. Alexi's been on a show with me where I've been vocal about that for the last 18 months. So, what's your thoughts, Alexi?
Yeah, well, the thing with De Gea, right, is so you've got a player like Dalot where he wasn't great, but you could go, he can be coached to be better at what he does, and he has been coached and he is better. Other players as well, McTominay has clearly been coached to be better. De Gea cannot be better at kicking and distribution and claiming crosses. The reason I say that is because it's the truth, because he's been here for 11 years or whatever. There are deficiencies in his game that are exactly the same as when he made his debut. And since that time, we've had Sir Alex Ferguson, we've had David Moyes, we've had Louis van Gaal, we've had Jose Mourinho, we've had Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, now we've had Ten Hag. Some of those managers are like some of the best this game has ever seen and ever will see, right? And they couldn't get De Gea to be good at those things. So we're at the point where either we're saying we're willing to sacrifice Ten Hag's philosophy of wanting a keeper who can play out the back from the back and start the play for De Gea. Either we're saying that or we're saying he just has to go, because there's just no way, there's absolutely no way he's going to get better at it. Any other player, I'd be saying differently. Maybe they can improve. But De Gea, it's clear. We know what he is. He's not as good as he used to be, but he used to be the best shot stopper I've ever seen, I think. Like, he was that good. But even then, he wasn't great with his feet. But we know what he is.
He was a box commander, wasn't he? A little bit of a box commander. Now, as a centre-half, Alexi, I'm looking over my shoulder all the time. Where's the goalkeeper's position? Because that determines where I need to be. Do I need to be deep, or can I step up 5-6 yards and maybe look at the offside? Why has De Gea stopped all of this? Where's the scene? We've had Fabian Barthez, right? Not the greatest goalkeeper, was he, Wes? But if you looked over his shoulder, you knew where he was. Yeah. Why do you think De Gea stopped all of that? Because it's vital to the centre-half. This is why Maguire, by the way, is suffering.
It's just a sense of, I don't know what has happened to him. I mean, clearly Spain, the stuff that happened with Spain really messed him up. He's not been the same since that, I don't think. But also, he's just not what we need. You can argue about how good he is or whatever, but the facts are, what we need him to do, he cannot do. So he shouldn't be there anymore. That is just how it is, unfortunately, whether you like it or not. And you could say the same for other players, but it's just a fact. And I know people always use this comparison, but it's true. Joe Hart at City, Pep just came in and just went, no.
Yeah.
You've got Bravo and he went, no. You know what I mean? And he settled on the right one. It's not a coincidence. The point City and Liverpool started being absolutely incredible football teams was when they brought Alisson and Ederson in and had that settled goalkeeper. The reason Liverpool, right, get away with getting done in behind, every game you watch Liverpool, right, 3-4 times a game, they get done in behind. And it's a really, really, it's a one-on-one. It's a really, really big chance. And Alisson saves it. He's that good one-on-one. At City, Ederson comes in and sweeps. The reason we conceded so many goals is because De Gea doesn't come off his line. He doesn't stop that happening. If someone puts the ball in behind our defence, we're in trouble, right? And the reason for that is the goalkeeper. If we had a goalkeeper like Alisson or Edison, it just wouldn't be the case. And it's arguably the most important position. And yeah, January or summer has to be addressed because he doesn't fit the system whatsoever. And it's kind of cruel just leaving him and saying, you've got to do this when it's clear he can't. Like, it's just cruel for everyone. So yeah, he's in the nicest way possible. He should be the next one gone.
I think personally, to sum it up, and with all due respect, I think his distribution you probably see in the lower end of the football league. It's that bad, and I don't, the amount of times where he turns over possession when we're already against the cosh, and puts us under even more pressure. I think that needs to definitely be an area that we need to prioritise and improve, because I don't even think, Dean Henderson is the man either. You've got a lot of people comparing the two at the moment on social media but neither of them, I think they both need to be cut from Manchester United, and we need to improve our number one spot significantly, particularly to fit the manager's philosophy, because if we don't address that, it's going to severely hinder us like it has.
Yeah, any thoughts on who you'd have, Wes? Or you maybe plump for? I quite like the Milanese keeper, Mayanga, is it, or however you pronounce it? I can never get it right. I quite like him.
I mean, if there's any goalkeeper in the world I could have, unfortunately it would probably be the one just across the way at Anfield, but because he is an exceptional goalkeeper. As much as I hate them, they've since they've signed Alisson, like Alexi said, he gets himself in unbelievable positions, and he's vitally important to the way Jurgen Klopp plays. But I think that what we need to do, we need to really do our homework on goalkeepers. I think that we need to find the goalkeeper that really does suit the manager's system and philosophy. And whether it's a big name or whether it's not, it doesn't have to be a 50, 60 million pound signing. We could go and get a goalkeeper of 10, 15 million, providing his distribution and obviously his handling is good, and providing the manager wants him, then go for it. I'm open to it, but we have to have a change in between the sticks, unfortunately, for De Gea. So thank you very much for everything you've done, but it's time to move on.
No, absolutely. John, what do you think about our new guy, Dubravka? Is he in there to challenge De Gea or not? I mean, I thought it was a strange signing. It kind of came completely out of the blue.
I did. I mean, we thought he might play in the Europa League possibly, but could he stick with the Gea today? And he didn't even travel to Sheriff, I don't think, did he? So I do. Yeah, I think maybe he might be there in case De Gea gets injured or something. I don't know, but I do think it is a bit of a strange. I mean, if you're not going to be Newcastle number one, you're not going to be United's number one, really, are you? So, but I do think. I've only seen snippets of him playing for his country, and his distribution doesn't look too bad, actually. It's certainly better than De Gea's, and just echo thoughts. I do think De Gea's been a fantastic servant for United, but I do think that in this one, I don't think he's particularly ever been good when it comes to coming out and claiming. But he's been okay in the past, but I don't think he's not like a Schmeichel or Van der Sar or someone like that when it comes to claiming and distribution. Ironically, I think Alex Stepney is our most capped goalkeeper for United. He's 80 years old today. I noticed. So big
top bloke.
So happy age to Alex Stepney. So, but yeah, I do agree. I think you do need to buy a new goalkeeper in the summer. I think unfortunately you couldn't solve all the issues in one summer. And I think Ten Hag, the thoughts were he thinks he will need to replace De Gea eventually, but I think he thought there were other priorities in the team which he needed to deal with, first like Martinez, the left back, midfield, place like that. But I do think eventually you're gonna need a goalkeeper. I mean, I don't really know who'd be the right goalkeeper. I mean, I know Chelsea got Mendy from Rennes, so it might be someone completely random. I mean, back in the day, we got Schmag from Bromby, and and we got Van der Sar from Fulham. So it's just you don't know where the next best thing will come from. But hopefully, our scouts will be on the lookout, and hopefully, we'll get someone good in.
I mean, I'll aim this at Mr. Tom straight away, and then I'd quite like you to all come in on this because it's quite an interesting question I'm going to ask. And that is, do you think there's that much of a sense of entitlement between the fan base that you can't look at a Nick Pope to playing golf for Manchester United? You couldn't look at an Aaron Ramsdale. I'm not saying these are Manchester United quality goalkeepers. I'm just making a point about, do we always have to go for a superstar goalkeeper? Do our fan base look at it? I mean, I raised this point because I said pre-Casemiro joining, we should look at something like Højbjerg. It'd be perfect for a Ten Hag system and the way that he plays for Spurs. He would fit us perfectly. And I got slaughtered in the comments and on Twitter, Højbjerg, blah, 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 blah. Is our fan base at a point where it's got to be a grade A player and they're incapable of looking at a Nick Pope and suggesting that he can be a Manchester United number one? The reason I'll go to you, Mr. Tom, first is that you scout Europe. You love watching European football. You know who's good and who isn't. You've spoke eloquently about the way that Ten Hag plays, what we could expect from Anthony, what we could expect from Timber if he'd arrived, what we can expect from De Jong if he had arrived. You know what you're looking at in terms of European football. So I'd like you all to comment about this sense of entitlement because I think it's a really important question because I feel our fan base struggles to actually look at the player before the name. They look at the name first and then they look at the player, and I worry about that. So sorry, Mr. Ton, I've gone over a little bit there, but what are your thoughts?
No, I agree with you because a lot of fans, they sort of want the already made goalkeeper or such, a world-class goalkeeper or whatever, but there's a lot of goalkeepers. You got the Brighton keeper, you got the Costa Porto. There is quite a few keepers out there. I'll be honest with you, you got quite a few in the Bundesliga as well that can play that style of football. I don't feel like we're at a point now where, and I was having this conversation today with someone, Ten Hag signings so far, none of them will say are players that before the end of the season that the fans base was saying we wanted. I didn't hear no one say we want Sandro Martinez. I wasn't hearing, apart from you, Stu, no one hearing would say want Ericsson. I wasn't hearing no one saying they wanted Malacia. Do you know what I mean? And no one was saying they wanted Anthony either. Do you get what I'm saying? So it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be this super name or whatever. There's a name that I'll probably say that will cost a few bob that I do hear a lot is Mike McGann, the one that at AC Milan.
That's it. The AC Milan McGann, yeah.
But there is a few. What's his name? Is it David Raya? Like I said, there's a few that are not probably going to cost 50, 60 mil that can come in and do the exact same job. There is loads of players out there. The Porto one, definitely watch out for him, man. He's a talent, man. But he's one of those ones you better grab before the price does go up. Do you know what I mean? That's where we should be aiming for, in my opinion. And Ten Hag has shown me that his profiling of players is spot on for what he wants. Regardless of what my preference is for what he wants, he's shown me it can work.
Yeah, Wes, we've seen many a goalkeeper come and go. Crikey, my first game, 77. Steve Pears was between the posts. If you remember him, and then Gary Bailey, who I idolised. I thought he was phenomenal. And we've had some great goalkeepers. We've had some poor goalkeepers. Taibbi, being one of them. Ben Foster didn't really live up to to anything for us really, and he's gone on to have a good career, a stellar career actually in the Premier League. We had Chris Turner, right? One of the shortest goalkeepers on the planet at the time, if you remember, from Sheffield Wednesday, Fabien Barthez. So we've had a variety of different goalkeepers. Do you think though that there is a sense of entitlement? Do you think that Man United fans, because of what happened when Fergie was buying the top players around at that particular time, I just think our pool's gone at the minute for that type of player. I just,
But-
being honest, and I just wonder what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I think there is. As you know, the fan base is very divided at the moment anyway. I think you've got different sections. You've got Manchester United fans that sort of are sort of level-headed in their approach when it comes to judging players, who want to actually, do a little bit of research and have a look into players. You've got other sections of the fan base who, want us to spend 50, 60 million pounds on goalkeepers, and if the name doesn't fit, kind of thing. It's sort of I think as well, it might sound a bit daft, but things like FIFA seem to have an influence on younger generation and their perception of players, which is ludicrous. Because I saw some of these new FIFA ratings yesterday, and I think it was they had like a Camavinga at like a 78 rating, and then they had someone else in the Premier League who was rated higher. Who I can't get my head around it. I mean, honestly, but. For me personally, I do think we've lost our pull a little bit. But I think what people need to understand is at the moment we are where we are. We're not in the Champions League. We're going through a rebuilding process with the new manager. The fan base is very toxic at the moment as well. It is throughout. You're going to have a certain profile of player that comes in and is okay with accepting those things. Now, if you're going to accept those things, ultimately disregarding Casemiro, you're probably not going to get the best players in the world, because the best players in the world want to be playing in the best competitions in the world. They want to be playing Champions League football. We don't have that at the moment. So I think that sense of entitlement, I think people need to get their head out of their backsides, accept where we are, and understand that, like the current profile of players that we have bought, which has been obviously indicated by the manager, has been chosen by the manager, I think they've all done really well. As Tom said, Malacia, what do we pay? 15 million?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
These players are out there still in an inflated market. There's, it's not just your 50, 60, 70 million pound players. You will find that diamond in the dirt. You just need to look hard. You need to have a setup and a structure and a load of scouts who know what they're looking for and can be bothered to do their job. Because if you remember as well, lads, beginning of the season, there were scouts sacked left, right, and centre through the club. There was a real shake-up, and now we're starting to sign and find players paying less. But, I guarantee if we put Malacia up for sale now, we'll probably double our money, if not more.
Oh, easy.
So,
easy.
But, it's people got to realise we are where we are. But it's an uphill battle from here. We are improving, and I think, once we get back into the Champions League, we'll be able to go back in the market for these world-class profile players. But you've also got to ask yourself, do we need that? Because it's shown that buying 15, 20 million players can also work, as opposed to signing 60 and 70 million pound players. It all depends on whether the player's willing to learn, and whether the manager can get the best out of them. It's down to the manager and his staff then to create, what they call as a world-class player.
And the thing is, I just think on that point, I'd argue we've never really signed world-class players and been successful from it. So I was just looking. If you look at the team that won the Champions League in 2008, Van der Sar came from Fulham, Ferdinand came from Leeds, Evra came from Monaco, Brown obviously through the academy, Vidic, I think
Vidic was it Spartak, was it?
Spartak, yeah.
Spartak, yeah. And then Carrick was from Tottenham. Tevez was from West Ham. Ronaldo was obviously from Sporting. So when you actually look at it, we've never really had a period in our history where we've gone and bought star players and been successful. We've always kind of gone, let's go to lower teams than us and gone, right, let's buy a Carrick and let's take Carrick to the level we want him to be at. And in fact, I think where it went wrong was post Ferguson. We completely abandoned that and just, it was like
Superstars.
Yeah, exactly. It was superstars because we just went, let's buy Di Maria, let's buy Falcao, let's buy Pogba.
Well, we did, didn't we? I mean, we followed the Real Madrid Galacticos. But look, I've always said, and I maintain this, nobody's ever explained world class to me. Nobody can actually tell me definitively what world class is, because I don't see any player on the planet that's truly world class. World class to me is somebody who can play right-footed, left-footed, can head the ball, can chest the ball, has got great pace, can shoot, can pass, can dribble. He can do all of this. There isn't a player on the planet that can do all of that, and I've never bought into the world class thing. But Wes has posed the question I was going to pose, and that is, do we need to buy all these so-called superstar footballers and pay them 400 grand a week when we can pick up a Malacia for 15 mil? We can, nurture a Garnacho for free. We can nurture a Charlie Savage for free. Great players, an Iqbal for free. Do we need to go out and spend all the time? Or do we do what Newcastle are doing? And by the way, I want to go back on record, and John was on the show when I mentioned this, before Rannick was appointed and people were saying, who should we get as interim manager? I said, pop in Eddie Howe for 6 months, he'll steady the ship. And I got absolutely vilified on that one as well. Absolutely vilified in the comments and everywhere. But my point is going to be, based on what Wes was saying, Eddie Howe hasn't done anything more than look at the profile of player and spent to that particular profile of the player he wants for that particular segment of the pitch. They've got a bottomless pit of money, and he hasn't gone and decided, I want Neymar, get me Neymar, get me X, Y, and Z. I want a player that will do this for me. Find me that player. So, do we look at that model moving forward? Should clubs in general look at that model moving forward?
I would say so, because I think with the Newcastle, they're nowhere near what reaching the top. It's going to take them a few years to be challenging for titles and that kind of thing. And I did think you're right about Eddie Howe. I mean, didn't they only win something like one game before Christmas or something last season? They ended up finishing on over 40 points, So, he did steady his show. I mean, they've only won one game this season, haven't they? But I do think you do have to build. And I know City back in the day when their owners came in, it took them 3 years to win a trophy and 4 years to win a title. So it's not going to be overnight. And I think also you got to factor in these. You got, for clubs like Newcastle, they got to sit by FFP rules and that kind of thing. So I do think you got to, as I can't remember who mentioned it, you got to look at buying diamonds in the rough. And it's okay buying the odd superstar occasionally. United did do that during Ferguson's days, even during Matt Busby's days, and even Ron Atkinson when we signed Brian Robson. We did spend large amounts on certain players in the past, which worked, but you've also got to look at certain players like Wes mentioned, Malacia, for less than 15 million. I think this is what Ten Hag is trying to do. And I think this is what he did at Ajax as well. They don't have big budget spend money, but he knows a certain profile of player who will fit his system on a budget and get a job out. Then look what he did with Haller, for example, and I think that's what he did with like Malacia and obviously Eric's. I mean, what a signing on a free that is. It is just unbelievable. I mean, we talked about McTominay before, but I think players like Fred and players like McTominay, it helps having a top class player alongside them that can bring the best out of them. I do think McTominay has played well, but part of that is because Eriksen has been alongside him, who I've been a fan of for ages. I do think you do need a structure, you do need to buy wise. And yes, we have overpaid for certain players like Anthony this summer, but I think if you start to build it up, as City's spent 100 million on Grealish, they can afford to do that because they didn't overspend on players previously, kind of thing. And I think it's just a staged approach to get eventually back to the top. So it does take time, but you can't just be spending, large amounts of money on players which end up failing. It's better to buy those diamonds in the rough and players who want to play for you. Anthony and Malassi were desperate to join us, Eriksen was, and this is where we went wrong before, where Ten Hag is trying to put it right.
Well, you do get far with a group of players that are determined. They don't have to be the best players on the planet. They're determined. Guys, we've got 10 minutes left. John raised an interesting question just before you came in, actually, Mr. Ton, earlier when we were in the green room. And that was he wanted to bring up our October fixtures. Now, I've got them up. And I think the Southampton game's been postponed for some reason. I don't know whether you guys know anything about that.
Where's Southampton?
Says here on the 8th, we were supposed to play Southampton on the... Oh, is that... yeah, we're supposed to play Southampton on the 8th at home. Apparently that's been postponed, according to what I've got. Anyway. Oh, yeah. They've changed fixtures. They've changed all the fixtures, haven't they?
Okay.
Don't know. Anyway, October. John, hit me with it.
Yeah, so I touched upon it before about the schedule before the World Cup. Obviously we're not playing for 2 weeks now, and I think during a 5-week period we got to play something ridiculous like 12 or 13 games or something. And obviously we've got to play the Cyprus team twice, and Sheriff hopefully we should win that. But you just look at the Premier League fixtures. We have to play like City, as mentioned, at the next day. Then we got to play Everton away. They're building a bit of momentum. You got to play Tottenham and Chelsea as well, and then we finish off with a couple of away games at Fulham and Villa. So it is going to be a tough schedule between now and the World Cup. Obviously, time will tell whether it's whether this break that we're having might help us or it might detract us, because we did have a confidence. Like the last league game was when we beat Arsenal. It felt like we were building momentum, and then through unfortunate events with the Queen's passing, we're going to go 4 weeks without playing a league game. And just when we were building momentum, it might be that we've lost it a little bit, but hopefully we can get back to gain a positive result against City. But yeah, it's going to be a very tough schedule between now and the World Cup.
But exciting. If you're a footballer, you're looking at what you've got, what you've got coming up, the amount of games you've got crammed in. I go on tour on Thursday next week, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm 52 years old, and I'm still excited about going on football tour. It's ridiculous. So imagine these players, when you're looking at your fixture list, you've got City coming up, you've got Chelsea in there, you've got Tottenham in there, you've got a couple of away European fixtures to come. It all adds to the excitement. But what do you think, Alexei? Theoretically, what would you hope for? On a good day, what would you hope for?
Yeah, well, God, I'm looking at them all now. It's insane. I mean, I said earlier I've only been to Old Trafford twice this season.
Yeah, that is why.
From the 13th to the 19th, we'll be there 3 times in 6 days, because we have 13th on Manir at home, 16th Newcastle at home, 19th Tottenham at home. 3 times in 6 days. That's probably the most ever. I can't think of a time 3 home games back to back, but yeah, I mean, it's going to be fun in the sense that there'll be constant football, and we're just going to have to accept we're going to lose some games, because that run of games would usually be across a couple of months, and it's in 5 weeks. But no, I mean, it's going to be good. I mean, so on one hand, the good thing is, if you're in good form, you keep playing, you keep going. Like Liverpool at the end of last season, they weren't that good at the end, but they just kept going because they had games every few days. They didn't have time to get tired. They kept the momentum going, just kept going. Obviously, they fell off at the end, but that's how they managed to go as far as they did. So if we get that kind of thing in, I mean, I don't worry that much about where it's like we've got Omonia on the 6th and Everton on the 9th. To me, it's obvious you play the second team against Omonia. I think that goes without saying. The ones I'm worried about is on the 16th, we have Newcastle at home. On the 19th, we have Tottenham at home. And the 22nd, we have Chelsea away. Now, those games in the space of 6 days, that's worrying. But yeah, I mean, it's such a big chunk of games that we'll know a lot about where we are after them, because we'll be quite a few games into the season. And obviously, the Europa League will be decided. And let's say I would take by then, let's say we're 6-7 points off the top after that run of fixtures. I think that's pretty good going, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's going to be. It's our pivotal month, isn't it? I mean, we did say on previous shows that we need a huge October. We've got to be there or thereabouts in October, the beginning of November, because of the World Cup, which obviously we're all bemoaning now. But as soon as it starts, we'll all be glued to it as football fans are. Mr. Ton, what's your expectations for October? I mean, it is worrying. Alex is right. I think as a fan base, we've got to look at expectations here and keep them pretty real.
I'm looking at the games and I'm just like, okay, City. I'm optimistic about the game. I'm not like, I'll be honest with you, I'm a bit optimistic.
I am for City. I think we'll get results at City.
Ammonia, we should be beating them. Everton, we should be beating them. Ammonia, we should be beating them. Newcastle, question mark. Spurs, question mark. Spurs, I watched the Leicester game, and Leicester should have actually been a few up in the first half, to be honest with you. Like, Spurs was not unbeat. That you can beat Spurs if you play right and play to your ability. You can beat them on their day. It's just, the way he plays is typical old school Italian, some brand of football. I'll be honest to you, but it's effective, isn't it? It's effective. Chelsea, they're in a whole process just like us, but they're even slower behind us. I'll be honest to you, it's not gonna. I've been talking to a couple of Chelsea. The fixtures ain't that bad. What's concerning is if the rotation and how he rotates, if that makes sense, and how he makes sure he keeps certain players fit. That's because we've seen it. Ten Hag clearly lacks his starting 11. And I've said this before the season starts with Ten Hag. He clearly lacks his starting 11. But where and when is the right time to rest players? Obviously, we've got
Tony
a
makes a
couple.
good point, doesn't he? Tony's making a point actually about resting players. Because the Europa League's now slightly different, isn't it? And the way that the way you get into the knockout stage,
especially after losing the first game as well.
Yeah.
Sorry,
but the fixtures, I'll be honest to you, apart from Newcastle and Spurs, I'm quite optimistic, and I'm saying that because of the spirit that's in the team right now. And that's one thing that I've always said last season is you can lose and whatever, but if you don't show no fight, no spirit, you don't even want to win, that's a big difference. But even for me as a fan, the way that they're defending, the way they're gearing each other, it's infectious for me as a fan. And I'm clapping, I'm cheering that. Do you understand? And the defense don't worry me. I'll be honest with you, the defense is not the concern for me right now. It's the other parts, the midfield and everything. And if we can build on that, we slowly have each game. I'll be honest with you, to be fair, Ten Hag and the patterns of play and the tactics he wants to use, the mid-table lower teams, we should be dominating them. We should be.
Yeah, agreed. No, I agree. Yeah,
let's see what happens. But it's the rotation that concerns me. The Varane, the Eriksen. Do you know what I mean? That's what concerns me. The rotation, and I don't want to burn out. And it's to say Rashford's not fit. It's to say he's not fit by then. And then we've got Ronaldo. We can't. Do you see? It's the rotation. We've got to get that right.
Yeah, no, you make a good point. Wes, well, we're coming to the end of the show, dude, so I'm going to give you the final say. But by the way, I'm with Mr. Ton. I think we'll get a result at City. I don't think Haaland's going to have it all his own way. Although I can't believe no centre-half's absolutely smashed him to the ground yet and said, welcome to the Premier League. What is all that about? I'd say, can you imagine him going up against Steve Bruce? You know what I'm saying?
That says the upper hand on him last season.
Vidic would have been doing that, wouldn't he? Oh, come on, son.
Vidic would take the red card just so he could just absolutely.
What is going on? what is going on with modern football? I mean, dear me, come on. But I think we can get a result against City. I think Mr. Ton and the lads are right, all of them. I think Newcastle's going to be a dodgy one, and it's a stick and Tottenham, because you don't know what you get with Tottenham. So the floor is yours, Wes, to see us out, old friend.
Yeah. So what was the question again, Stu?
Just what are your expectations for the month of October?
Yeah, it's obviously going to be a tough month for United, but everyone else is going to be as worried as we are. We're all in the same boat, and I think that you'll see character, you'll see who's mentally strong, who isn't, who's cut out for the demands of the league. I think there was a similar month we had under Ollie when we were top of the league. We were winning. There was a game every 3 days, and obviously, when you're winning football matches and you're enjoying football, you should love to just turn up and play. You can't wait for the next game. It is going to be tough. As we've already mentioned, the rotation does worry me a little bit. I personally lean more towards managing minutes as opposed to rotation, because I always believe you should start with your strongest team. I think in any game, however often you're playing, if you can get 2 or 3 goals in the first half and bring your players off, as opposed to starting weak and then chasing a 1 or 2-0 down game, it makes your life a little bit easier in that sense. But I do think we'll get a result at City.
Good on you.
I think the mindset of the players is going to be good. When I see this team now, post Brentford, we're fighting, we're more aggressive, we're in the opposition's faces, as you can see, and there's more of a togetherness brewing within this squad now. And I think that Haaland is due to be locked up in a game, and I think if anyone can do it at the moment, it's probably Martinez and Varane.
Yeah.
It'll either go one of 2 ways. I think either we'll get a result or we'll have a hide-in, unfortunately. But I'm leaning more towards the earlier, if I'm honest with you. But yeah, as I said, it's going to be a tough month, but we've got to dig in. Everyone's in the same boat. We're all playing the same amount of games. You've just got to dig in, fight for each other. And yeah, as I said, I hope we don't rotate too much. I hope we just lean towards more managing individual minutes, really. But it's exciting. If you're a football fan, football's on. You're watching United every few days. That's what it's all about, isn't it?
Wes, you summed it up brilliantly there, mate. Listen, guys, we've done an hour, so I'm going to wrap up the show now. I just want to thank you guys for watching. Thank you for liking the video. Please like and subscribe to All for United. If you want good, honest debate, we're not here to be controversial. We're not here for any kind of sensationalism. We just talk football. We love our great club. Join us, get your questions in. There'll be various shows next week. I'm not exactly sure of the schedule, so please check our Twitter account for that. Lads, as always, it's been a pleasure. Great to have you on. If you just let everyone know where they can find you on your social, start with you, Alexin, and go all the way around to Mr. Tom, please, guys. That'd be great.
Just MEFC_Red Army99 on Twitter.
Yeah, I bet you can find me at John_Kermo2 on Twitter.
Mr_CEO Ton on Twitter, on Spaces, doing the usual talk of football.
Yeah.
United Wesley on Twitter and United Captured on Instagram.
And you can get me and abuse me at Stu Woolley if you feel like it. You want to interact with me, you're more than welcome. We will be recording, we'll either do, it's going to be a tactical special. I don't know if I'm going to do it before the City game or after. So keep an eye out for that on Twitter as well. Thank you all once again. Really appreciate you joining us.